Howdy, retail family. Well, we're just a couple weeks out from pre-patch, and soon we'll be continuing our Azeroth Island hopping campaign. But before we depart the Dragon Isles for good, I thought it would be nice to take a moment to appreciate the great things about Dragonflight. From the moment I arrived in the Dragon Isles, I had that feeling like we're not in Kansas anymore. Gone is the old World of Warcraft, and here is the new, beautiful, happy, everyone's on the same team, and we're going to unite together to take down the forces of evil. And that's the new direction that retail is headed. And whether you agree with that or not, I think Dragonflight was most certainly a bold step for them, because they're really shedding that old World of Warcraft feel as they usher in this new, diverse, happier, lighter World of Warcraft. But you didn't have to quest long before you recognized, wow, this is a pretty amazing thing they've built. I mean, sure, it's very Disney-esque, but I'm a big fan of Disney movies. And let us all remember the greatest Disney movie of all time, The Sword and the Stone, and my favorite Disney character of all time, the magnificent and marvelous Madam Mim. She's a dream. That's my girl. And so, yes, it doesn't feel like the old World of Warcraft, but I have to say the first thing that I just really admired about Dragonflight was this world they built. It is absolutely stunning, and flying around in it just feels good. I've always said this from the moment I started making content. Very few companies, outside of maybe Rockstar and a few others, create worlds as cool as Blizzard does. One of my favorite things to do is just run around and be in the art that they create. These worlds are sensational, and Dragonflight is no exception. It's absolutely gorgeous. And when it comes to capital cities, I think Valdrakken was just so cool. It was situated kind of in the middle of the map, and you could just fly out from your Valdrakken perch and zip around and do your dailies and get anywhere pretty quick. The tower that housed the dragons. When you're flying around out here and you see all the dragons filling the sky, how cool is that? I just think it's amazing. You step out of the inn and those visuals hit you. Everybody running around, transmog mounts everywhere, dragons filling the sky. My heart will always be with Borealis, but I think Valdrakken is just incredible. And let's also remember that Valdrakken included an auction house, which it was nice not have to go all the way back to Stormwind just to sell some stuff. And say what you will, I don't give a damn. I thought the music was outstanding. From the inspiring theme music of Valdrakken to those beastly drums getting pounded out by the 4-foots, to those sweet, sweet violins stringing it out in the azure span, reminding me of my long-lost, beloved Grizzly Hills. And could it even be a discussion about Dragonflight if we didn't include dragon riding? Now, I wasn't as smitten by dragon riding as I think the majority of the retail players were. My biggest issue is that I actually play other games that have flying in them. And never once in all of my gaming career have I ever seen a version of flying where you thrust it through the sky using combo points. And I am adamant that if you actually rode in an airplane that thrusted through the sky like this from New York to LA, you would never fly again. But I have to admit, when you're in the minority here, and I am in the very, very, very much minority, because the retail community was absolutely blown away by dragon riding. Very often, post after post, reported this being the most fantastic change in all of World of Warcraft. And so you have to recognize when something's a hit, even if it's not a hit to you. The great news is that this feature is evergreen and it's being expanded in the War Within. So now not only will you get to use your dragons, but a whole host of other mounts to fuck the skies with as much as you want. You can really just dick them down, really give them that thrusting that you guys love to. And you also have to give props to who did it first. So congratulations to Guild Wars 2. That was one of the first MMOs to put an amazing flying system in their game. And then good job by Blizz by recognizing how awesome that would be in Warcraft and introducing it in the Dragon Isles in a very unique way that has been just an absolute hit with the retail community. And good news for all the thrusters, there's more to come. Another great thing about Dragonflight was a complete lack of content drought. Whether it was the vaults, Dragon Daycare, dig sites, or Niffin Sniffin, they pumped this expansion full of content updates. Now, who all that content was made for and whether it landed very well, I don't know. But the fact is, one of the big complaints about past expansions were the huge gaps in content. Blizzard recognized that as a chief complaint amongst retail players, and they addressed it. Even if you're like me and you thought the content was pretty meh, you have to admit that at least they put some out. And it makes you kind of sad in a sense, because what could it have been in past expansions if they were this diligent with content updates? But better late than never, and Dragonflight most certainly received update after update and new content after new content. But I've seen a lot of posts and a lot of players say that Dragonflight, with its consistent updates, kept them engaged and subbed longer than most expansions did. So we got to give props to Blizz for the consistency of the content. Another thing that I have to mention, and for me, this one just gets me emotional, is the fishing nets. I thought the fishing stuff was just so cool in Dragonflight, and the amount of money I made off these fishing nets really funded my transmog addiction. And let's be honest, the true end game of World of Warcraft is T-Mog. That's why we all love retail, because we've got those banging T-Mogs to cycle through. And I thought the fishing was just absolutely outstanding. I greatly enjoyed doing my fishing dailies, and I'm always hopeful they're going to really pour some love into the fishing in WoW, make it more interactive. I just think when you create these magnificent worlds that are just so fun to be in, fishing around in them is just so much fun. I really hope it's something they push into. And of course, we can't forget about Otto. He's just so cool and cute. And as I've mentioned several times and will continue to warn you about, just don't look into otters too much. Just know that they're cute and sweet and awesome, and just leave it at that. Be blissful in your ignorance, dear God. But I think we all must admit that the greatest addition to the World of Warcraft in the Dragonflight expansion was Oklahoma. Huh? Remember how boring and dull shit used to be? Didn't I come along and brighten up your world? It's because you got that sweet ass, and I love you. Smack it like a pair of bongos. And it won't be long now before we start popping off again, and I'm excited to start a new adventure with y'all. Keep the hips loose, and I'll see you out there. Oklahoma out.